Today I wanted to talk about a topic that may seem challenging but is profoundly transformative. Why God wants you to be alone. For many of us, being alone can feel uncomfortable, even unsettling. We're naturally social beings who crave companionship, support, and connection. Yet there are times when solitude isn't a punishment or a sign of something lacking. It's a profound opportunity, a gift from God to help us grow. The experience of solitude is often a profound invitation to draw closer to God, to strengthen our relationship with Him, and to deepen our understanding of His presence in our lives. In our fast-paced world filled with constant distractions, responsibilities, and the endless noise of daily life, it's easy to overlook the quiet spaces where God speaks most clearly. When we are alone, we step into a sacred opportunity to connect with God on a much deeper level. Solitude is not merely the absence of people, but an intentional space to cultivate a relationship with God that is personal, intimate, and unmediated by the world around us. In times of solitude, we can begin to recognize God's voice more distinctly, away from the competing influences of others' opinions, media, and the expectations society often imposes on us. It's here in the quiet moments that we realize God's voice is not loud or forceful, but gentle and consistent, always waiting for us to listen. The Bible reminds us of this in 1 Kings 19, where God's voice was not in the wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but in a still, small voice. When we create space in our lives for silence and solitude, we invite that voice into our hearts. Alone, we can become attuned to the subtle ways that God communicates, the quiet guidance He offers, and the peace that His presence brings. Solitude also provides a unique environment where we can be completely honest with God. Without the influence of others or the need to maintain a certain image, we're free to bring our true selves before Him, our worries, our fears, our hopes, and our failures. In these vulnerable moments, we realize that God doesn't judge us by our masks or public personas. He sees us as we are. Alone with Him, we can drop the pretense and let go of the need to perform or be good enough. We begin to see that God's love is unconditional and unwavering. This authentic encounter with God is transformative because it allows us to experience His grace in a personal way. We learn that we don't have to earn His love, and we begin to trust Him on a deeper level. This trust becomes the foundation of our relationship with Him, grounded in the knowledge that we are accepted and cherished just as we are. Being alone with God also gives us the time to cultivate a more consistent prayer life, deepening our communication with Him. In the presence of others, our prayer life might feel more formal or structured. But in solitude, we can engage with God in a natural and ongoing conversation. Prayer becomes less about following a formula and more about sharing our daily experiences with Him, inviting Him into our thoughts, feelings, and struggles. Through these moments of genuine connection, we start to see prayer as a lifeline that sustains us, not just an obligation. We feel God's companionship and His willingness to walk with us through every moment of our lives. This sense of divine companionship changes how we view ourselves and the world around us, grounding us in a reality where God is always near, attentive, and involved in our lives. As we spend time alone with God, we also learn to rest in His presence. Our society often values productivity and busyness, making us feel like we always need to be doing something to prove our worth. But solitude teaches us a different rhythm. In God's presence, we don't have to strive, we can simply be. This experience of resting in God can be incredibly healing as we learn to let go of stress and anxiety, allowing God to renew our minds and hearts. Jesus Himself modeled this practice, often retreating to lonely places to pray and reconnect with His Father, despite the demands of His ministry. In solitude, we too find the space to let go of our burdens and draw strength from God. We begin to understand that our value is not in what we accomplish, but in who we are as His beloved children. Furthermore, solitude with God helps us cultivate a sense of peace and contentment that is independent of our external circumstances. When we're alone, we realize that God's presence is enough. And this realization fosters a deep sense of satisfaction that doesn't rely on people, possessions, or accomplishments. This contentment becomes a source of inner stability, grounding us through life's ups and downs. When we rely on God as our ultimate source of peace, we're less affected by the shifting circumstances around us, and we develop resilience rooted in our faith. This inner peace is a profound gift that grows as we continue to meet God in the quiet moments of solitude. In the end, solitude teaches us that we are never truly alone. The more we practice being in God's presence by ourselves, the more we sense His companionship in every part of our lives. This realization transforms how we approach both solitude and community. Rather than seeing solitude as emptiness, we recognize it as an invitation to be filled by God's presence. And when we do engage with others, we can offer them love and support from a place of wholeness, rather than needing them to complete us. In conclusion, solitude is not a void, but a sacred space where we can encounter God more profoundly. In the quiet, away from the distractions of life, we come to know Him as our constant companion, our healer, our guide, and our greatest source of peace. Solitude with God is not about isolation, but about relationship, a relationship that strengthens, transforms, and fills us with His love. When we emerge from these times of solitude, we do so with a renewed sense of purpose, carrying with us the assurance that we are deeply loved and never alone. And in that truth, we find the strength to live fully, with a heart anchored in the unshakable presence of God. When we find ourselves in solitude, removed from the daily roles, responsibilities, and expectations that society often places on us, we are given a unique opportunity to rediscover our true identity in God. In a world that frequently defines us by our roles, our professions, family relationships, social status, or accomplishments, it's easy to forget who we are at our core. We can get so caught up in the labels we wear and the expectations we carry that we lose sight of our authentic self, the person that God created and knows intimately. Solitude offers a powerful chance to reconnect with that person, to see ourselves through God's eyes rather than through the fragmented lens of worldly definitions. Alone with God, we start to strip away the layers that have built up around us. These layers are often made up of expectations, whether from family, friends, work, or society in general, that subtly shape our behaviors, goals, and even self-perception. We might carry the pressure to meet certain standards, achieve specific milestones, or conform to societal ideals. However, when we spend time alone, we can begin to recognize these expectations for what they are: external influences that do not define our worth or identity in God. In solitude, we can let go of these pressures and remember that our value does not lie in what we do or how others see us, but in who we are as God's beloved children. Rediscovering our identity in God is a transformative experience because it helps us reconnect with the qualities and values that make us unique. In a world that often emphasizes fitting in, solitude allows us to embrace the parts of ourselves that may not align with societal norms. We can reflect on our true passions, our genuine interests, and the characteristics that God has woven into our being. Without the noise of outside opinions, we can ask ourselves, who am I when I'm simply being myself? What are the qualities that I bring to the world? What are the dreams that God has placed in my heart? These questions, when explored in solitude, help us to see ourselves more clearly and to embrace our authentic selves with confidence. Another crucial part of rediscovering our identity in solitude is understanding that our true worth is rooted in God's love. The world often bases value on appearance, achievements, or popularity, but God's love is unconditional. He does not see us through the lens of accomplishments or flaws. He sees us as creation, inherently worthy and valuable. When we are alone with God, we begin to feel the security that comes from being unconditionally loved. This realization can be incredibly freeing, as it releases us from the need to prove ourselves to others. We come to see that we are enough just as we are in God's eyes. This knowledge becomes a source of profound peace and confidence, grounding us in the truth that we do not need to earn God's love, nor can it be taken away. Solitude also allows us to reconnect with our God-given purpose. In the busyness of life, we may sometimes lose sight of our calling or drift away from the path that God intended for us. However, when we have the chance to slow down and listen, we open ourselves up to God's guidance. Being alone with Him, we can revisit the unique gifts and talents He has given us, and we can ask how He wants us to use them. This time of reflection is an opportunity to align ourselves with His purpose, to let go of pursuits that don't fulfill us or don't serve His plan for our lives. As we rediscover our identity, we also gain clarity about the contributions we are meant to make in the world, grounded in our faith and trust in God's guidance. Furthermore, solitude gives us the freedom to confront and heal from any aspects of ourselves that may need God's transformative touch. Often, we carry wounds or unresolved emotions that we may ignore or suppress in the presence of others. But when we're alone, we can bring these feelings to the surface, sharing them honestly with God. In His presence, we find a safe space to acknowledge our fears, our insecurities, and our past hurts. God invites us to bring these burdens to Him, and in doing so, we begin to experience healing. We can release shame, self-doubt, or any other weight that prevents us from fully embracing our identity in Him. Through this process, we find that God is not only our creator, but also our healer, working within us to restore and renew our sense of self. Over time, the solitude we experience with God helps us build a stronger, more resilient sense of identity that is not dependent on external validation. We grow in self-assurance, not because of anything we have achieved or accomplished, but because we are grounded in the understanding that we are God's children. This inner confidence becomes a guiding force in our lives, enabling us to face challenges with faith and to live authentically, regardless of the opinions or judgments of others. When we know who we are in God, we no longer need to seek approval from the world, and this freedom allows us to live with integrity and purpose. In conclusion, solitude is a powerful tool for rediscovering our true identity in God. It gives us the space to shed societal labels, to explore our authentic selves, and to find peace in God's unconditional love. Alone with God, we come to understand our worth, not based on achievements or the approval of others, but on the simple, beautiful fact that we are His. This identity, rooted in divine love, is unshakable and enduring. As we emerge from solitude, we carry with us a renewed sense of self that is grounded in truth, allowing us to live confidently and purposefully in the world as God intended. Rediscovering who we are in God is a lifelong journey, and solitude is a vital part of that journey, leading us back to the heart of who we truly are. In times of solitude, we are granted a precious opportunity to gain clarity and direction, a chance to step back from the whirlwind of daily life and truly reflect on our path. Our world today is often filled with constant noise, activity, and a steady stream of external influences that can cloud our vision and distract us from what truly matters. This nonstop busyness can make it difficult to evaluate our choices, our values, and direction our lives are heading. Solitude offers us a sanctuary from these distractions, creating a space where we can pause, reflect, and listen not just to our inner thoughts, but more importantly, to God's guidance. It's in these quiet, uninterrupted moments that we can find clarity, understand our purpose, and gain a renewed sense of direction that aligns with our true calling. When we allow ourselves to be alone, we're freed from the expectations and opinions of others, making it easier to examine our lives honestly. We can ask ourselves the tough questions: am I truly happy with the direction my life is taking? Are my current choices leading me toward fulfillment? Or am I simply following a path set by societal pressures or the influence of others? These are questions that often go unanswered in the rush of daily life, but solitude gives us the time to examine deeply. By stepping back and distancing ourselves from distractions, we gain the perspective needed to see our lives more clearly, to identify the areas where we may have drifted from our values or calling, and to recognize the patterns and habits that no longer serve our growth or purpose. Solitude also allows us to evaluate our relationships and the roles they play in our lives. It's during these quiet times that we may realize which relationships are truly supportive, which ones may be holding us back, and which ones may need nurturing or reevaluation. In solitude, we can reflect on whether our relationships align with our values and whether they help us move closer to the person we feel called to be. Without the constant influence of others, we're able to see more clearly which relationships are built on genuine love and respect, and which ones may need healthy boundaries. This clarity helps us make decisions that promote healthier, more fulfilling connections with those around us. Another powerful aspect of solitude is that it allows us to listen for God's guidance, free from the interference of outside voices. In the quiet of solitude, we are better able to discern God's presence and hear His still, small voice. The Bible tells us that God often speaks in whispers, not in loud proclamations, and these whispers can easily be drowned out by the distractions and busyness of life. In solitude, we become attuned to this gentle guidance, and we can hear God's voice directing us in ways we might overlook in the noise of the world. These moments of divine communication help us gain insight into the direction He wants us to take, guiding us to make choices that are aligned with His will. Furthermore, solitude provides us with the time and mental space to consider our long-term goals and aspirations. Without the rush of deadlines, tasks, and responsibilities, we can reflect on what we truly want to accomplish and how we can create a life that reflects our deepest values. This time alone allows us to set meaningful goals that are in line with our purpose rather than merely chasing after accomplishments that the world deems important. In solitude, we can define success in our own terms that reflect our unique calling and the person we are striving to become. This clarity is essential for creating a life of intention, one where our actions, decisions, and priorities are all focused on a meaningful, fulfilling path. Solitude also gives us the courage to confront any unresolved issues or conflicts within ourselves. Sometimes we carry burdens or unresolved emotions that hinder our ability to move forward with clarity and purpose. These could be regrets, fears, or insecurities that we suppress or avoid in our busy lives. Solitude invites us to confront these feelings, bringing them into the light, so we can understand and address them. By facing these inner struggles honestly, we gain a clearer understanding of what might be holding us back, and we can seek God's guidance for healing and growth. This process of self-reflection and healing is essential for clearing the mental and emotional blocks that cloud our vision and prevent us from seeing the path ahead with clarity. In these quiet moments, we also develop a deeper sense of trust in God's plan. When we are constantly surrounded by others or preoccupied with activity, we may be tempted to rely on our own understanding or the advice of others rather than seeking God's direction. But in solitude, we are reminded that God is the ultimate guide for our lives. Alone, we have the opportunity to surrender our plans, worries, and uncertainties to Him, trusting that He has a purpose for us that is greater than what we can see or understand. This trust brings a sense of peace and confidence that helps us approach life with a clearer, more focused mind, knowing that we are guided by a divine hand. Ultimately, solitude is a gift that allows us to recalibrate our lives, shedding what no longer serves us and embracing what is essential and true. It's in these moments of solitude that we can realign ourselves with our core values and purpose, making decisions that reflect the life we truly want to live. This newfound clarity helps us return to the world with a greater sense of purpose, knowing which direction to take and which choices to make to stay true to our path. Solitude reminds us that we are not defined by what others think or expect of us, but by who we are in God's eyes and the unique journey He has set before us. In conclusion, solitude is a powerful tool for gaining clarity and direction in life. It offers us a rare opportunity to pause, reflect, and reconnect with our purpose without the distractions of daily life. In these quiet moments, we can hear God's guidance more clearly, examine our lives with honesty, and set goals that align with our deepest values. Through solitude, we find the courage to face our inner struggles, trust in God's plan, and make decisions that lead us toward a life of fulfillment and meaning. As we embrace solitude, we discover that clarity and direction are not found in the noise of the world, but in the quiet, sacred space where God speaks to our hearts. And it's from this place of inner clarity that we can step forward with confidence, knowing that we are walking the path that is uniquely ours, led by God's gentle hand. Being alone offers a powerful opportunity to build inner strength and resilience, helping us to realize that true fortitude comes not from external sources, but from within, grounded in our relationship with God. In our modern, interconnected world, where social support is often emphasized, we sometimes underestimate the power and necessity of self-reliance and inner resolve. When we spend time alone, we begin to see that, although family, friends, and community are invaluable, our greatest source of strength lies within ourselves and our faith in God. Solitude becomes a teacher, guiding us to tap into this internal reservoir of strength, revealing to us who we are and what we're capable of, even in the absence of external validation. In times of solitude, we're left with ourselves, with no one else to turn to for support or reassurance. This can feel uncomfortable at first, because we're often used to turning to others in moments of uncertainty, loneliness, or struggle. However, when we're alone, we must confront our challenges independently, relying on our inner resources. This experience fosters a resilience that no amount of external validation can provide because it is rooted in our understanding of our own capabilities. We begin to trust ourselves more deeply, learning to rely on our judgment, our intuition, and our strength. The absence of others' voices allows us to tune into our own and to rely on our ability to navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. As we navigate solitude, we also learn that our relationship with God becomes our most steadfast support. In the quiet moments of being alone, we're able to speak to God openly and without distractions, bringing our struggles, doubts, and fears to Him. Through prayer and meditation, we find a sense of peace and assurance that God is with us, even in our isolation. This reliance on God becomes a source of inner resilience, reminding us that we are never truly alone. No matter the external circumstances, we can draw upon our faith to find courage and strength. This quiet communion with God deepens our trust in Him, teaching us that even when others may not understand our journey, He is always present, guiding us forward. Furthermore, solitude gives us the chance to face our fears and insecurities directly, without the safety net of others. When we are constantly surrounded by people, we may unconsciously depend on their encouragement or presence to feel secure. But solitude challenges us to confront the uncertainties and insecurities within ourselves and to work through them on our own. This process can be difficult, as it requires us to face aspects of ourselves that we might prefer to ignore. However, in doing so, we develop a greater sense of self-confidence and emotional resilience. We learn that we can handle difficult emotions, that we can face challenges, and that we are capable of overcoming obstacles without relying on the reassurance of others. This newfound confidence becomes a lasting source of strength, as we come to understand that we have everything we need within ourselves to face life's trials. In solitude, we also gain a greater understanding of our values and priorities. In a world filled with competing influences and societal pressures, it can be challenging to discern our true beliefs and desires. Solitude strips away these external influences, allowing us to focus on what truly matters to us. As we spend time alone, we reflect on our values, our beliefs, and our purpose. This self-awareness helps us develop a strong foundation, one that is not easily shaken by the opinions or judgments of others. We become more confident in who we are and in what we stand for, giving us the resilience to stay true to ourselves even when faced with criticism or opposition. This inner clarity fortifies us, empowering us to make decisions and live according to our principles, regardless of external pressures. Another powerful aspect of solitude is that it helps us develop a sense of self-sufficiency. In solitude, we are responsible for our well-being, our happiness, and our peace of mind. Without the immediate support of others, we learn to take charge of our own mental and emotional health. This sense of responsibility fosters a strong sense of self-reliance as we come to understand that we are capable of meeting our own needs and providing for ourselves emotionally. This self-sufficiency does not mean we no longer need others, but rather that we develop a balanced relationship with ourselves, where we are our own primary source of support. This inner balance contributes to our resilience as we learn that we can weather storms on our own and find joy, peace, and strength within ourselves. Over time, solitude teaches us that we are stronger than we often give ourselves credit for. We discover our ability to persevere, to overcome challenges, and to endure difficult times without losing hope or faith. This resilience is built not on the strength of others, but on the foundation of our own character and relationship with God. In solitude, we see our potential more clearly, and we gain the confidence to face life's trials head-on, knowing that we have what it takes to overcome them. This resilience becomes a vital part of our character, enabling us to approach life with a sense of courage and determination that is rooted in our inner strength. Ultimately, solitude helps us cultivate an enduring sense of peace and contentment that is not dependent on our circumstances or on the people around us. When we are alone, we learn to find joy in our own company, to appreciate the beauty of stillness, and to embrace the quiet moments of life. This inner peace becomes a powerful source of resilience, as we are no longer easily swayed by the ups and downs of life. We learn that true peace comes not from the absence of problems, but from our ability to remain centered and grounded, even in the midst of challenges. This peace is strengthened by our faith, as we come to understand that God is our constant companion, providing us with a sense of calm and assurance that is unwavering. In conclusion, solitude is a powerful teacher, offering us the chance to build inner strength and resilience. By spending time alone, we develop a greater sense of self-reliance, a deeper connection with God, and a clearer understanding of our values and purpose. We learn to face our fears, to trust in our own abilities, and to rely on God's presence as our ultimate source of support. This resilience is not rooted in external validation, but in our own inner foundation, one that is built through solitude and strengthened by our faith. Through solitude, we gain the confidence to navigate life's challenges with courage and determination, knowing that we have everything we need within ourselves to face whatever comes our way. In this way, solitude becomes a source of empowerment, teaching us that true strength and resilience are found not in the presence of others, but in the quiet, unshakable relationship we have with ourselves and with God. Solitude provides a unique opportunity to deepen our connection with God, offering an environment free from distractions and external pressures, allowing us to focus solely on our relationship with Him. In the quiet moments of being alone, away from the noise and demands of daily life. We have the space to open our hearts and minds to God, listening for His voice, seeking His guidance, and experiencing His presence in a more profound way. While group worship, fellowship, and community support are essential aspects of our spiritual lives, solitude allows for an intimate, personal encounter with God, helping us to grow in faith and develop a closer, more authentic relationship with our Creator. One of the greatest benefits of solitude is the clarity it brings to our spiritual journey. When we are surrounded by others, it can be easy to get caught up in their opinions, beliefs, and expectations. Even well-meaning advice or shared perspectives from friends, family, or faith communities can sometimes cloud our own understanding of God's will for our lives. Solitude removes these external voices, giving us the opportunity to connect directly with God's guidance. In the quiet of solitude, we can ask God for direction and wisdom and trust that He will lead us in the way that is best for us. This one-on-one time with God brings clarity and insight that can help us make decisions, understand our purpose, and live according to His will. Another powerful aspect of solitude is the chance to be completely honest with God. In the presence of others, we might feel pressured to appear strong, confident, or even flawless. However, when we are alone with God, we can let down our guard and be our truest selves. We can bring our struggles, doubts, insecurities, and fears to Him without fear of judgment. God welcomes us just as we are with all our imperfections, and solitude allows us to experience this acceptance on a deep level. This vulnerability fosters a closer connection with God as we come to understand that His love for us is unconditional and that He desires a relationship based on authenticity and openness. This kind of connection is profoundly healing and can strengthen our faith, giving us the courage to face life's challenges with God by our side. Solitude also offers a precious opportunity for us to listen to God. In our fast-paced world, we are often so busy that we don't take the time to listen for His voice. We may rush through prayer or quiet time, eager to return to our responsibilities or distracted by endless to-do lists. However, in solitude, we have the freedom to sit in silence, to wait, and to listen. We may not hear God's voice in the form of words, but we may sense His presence, feel His peace, or experience an inner prompting that offers insight or comfort. Listening to God in solitude requires patience and an open heart, but it also builds our spiritual sensitivity, making us more attuned to His presence in our daily lives. Through this listening, we learn that God is not distant, He is with us, guiding and comforting us every step of the way. Additionally, solitude allows us to deepen our prayer life, strengthening the foundation of our relationship with God. When we are alone, we have the time and space to pray more intentionally without distractions or interruptions. We can engage in different forms of prayer, whether it's expressing gratitude, asking for guidance, seeking forgiveness, or simply resting in God's presence. Through solitude, prayer becomes less about reciting words and more about experiencing communion with God, a heartfelt dialogue where we feel safe, understood, and connected. This intimate prayer life nurtures our faith, helping us build a relationship with God that is deeply personal and rooted in trust. The Bible often illustrates how solitude plays a vital role in spiritual growth. Jesus Himself frequently sought solitude to pray and connect with God. Before significant events or after a period of intense ministry, He would withdraw to a quiet place to spend time in prayer, seeking God's guidance and renewing His strength. This example teaches us that solitude is not only beneficial but necessary for deepening our connection with God. Just as Jesus relied on solitude to stay connected to His Father, we too can draw closer to God by embracing moments of aloneness, allowing our relationship with Him to grow stronger and more personal. Solitude also encourages self-reflection, helping us to examine our spiritual lives and assess our relationship with God honestly. In our busy lives, we may unintentionally neglect areas of our faith that need attention. Solitude gives us the time to look inward, to identify any spiritual struggles, doubts, or areas where we may have drifted from God. This reflection helps us recognize where we need to grow and gives us the opportunity to bring these areas to God, seeking His help and guidance. This self-reflection is essential for spiritual maturity, as it allows us to address any obstacles that may be hindering our relationship with God and to realign ourselves with His will. Moreover, solitude fosters a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for God's presence in our lives. When we take time to be alone, we become more aware of the blessings we often overlook in our day-to-day lives. We can reflect on God's love, His provision, His protection, and His faithfulness, recognizing how He has been with us through every season. This gratitude enriches our relationship with God, reminding us of His goodness and encouraging us to trust Him more fully. In solitude, we learn to see God's hand in every aspect of our lives, and our hearts become filled with thankfulness, strengthening our faith and deepening our connection with Him. In conclusion, solitude is a powerful tool for deepening our relationship with God, providing us with the quiet and space needed to focus solely on our spiritual journey. In these moments of aloneness, we find clarity, honesty, and the freedom to be vulnerable with God. We listen for His voice, strengthen our prayer life, and reflect on our spiritual growth, all of which bring us closer to Him. Solitude helps us appreciate God's presence in a more profound way, fostering gratitude and strengthening our trust in Him. By embracing solitude, we nurture a relationship with God that is personal, meaningful, and deeply rooted in faith, allowing us to walk through life with a renewed sense of purpose, peace, and confidence, knowing that God is with us every step of the way.